Also an element of dealing with the individual and the ego, and there is the sort of who's the man. And at that time, there was always that unresolved thing in Leicester, who was the man.
There's good backing up by the two Americans, reading one another's intentions well. Eli nips inside, and that's an important score.
It was good until the last game of the season. Our good players always have egos, and we sort of clashed a little bit during that final game, and that really disappointed me. So I sort of left there a little bitter. You know, it was going great the whole year, and I remember something happened in the game. He had said something to me, and we sort of exchanged, but it wasn't pleasant.
He wouldn't pass me the ball. So I said, M.E., pass me the ball. M.E., pass me the ball. He would pass me the ball, right? I was wide open. So I walk up to him. I said, M.E., why you didn't pass me the ball, man? Oh, you got somebody behind you, man. You got somebody behind. So I said, I pushed him. I said, where the F you want him? Where the F you want him? He walked away, walked off the court in the middle of the game. So after the game, I was looking at him. He was walking off, and I said, I'm gonna go walk right behind him. So he was in the locker room, and I went right behind him, sitting by the time. I said, hey, M.E., I said, how you doing, man? F you, man. I said, oh, M.E., man. I said, I'm your partner, man. He didn't speak to me. He hasn't spoke to me since.
After a winning season with us at Leicester, Mario returned home, and I'm glad to say enjoyed many successful seasons playing in the NBA. He's won 3 world championship rings, and he is now the assistant coach with the Brooklyn Nets.
You know, I played every game my hardest. You know, I had a good time over there. Thought I played very well. I thought I left a mark over there. The journey I took, you know, to make it to the NBA, you know, I had an interesting journey. So, and the good thing about that journey, it started in Ireland.
This is the part of the story that I'm not looking forward to telling, because the year after Mario left for the NBA in the spring of '87, everything changed in Irish basketball.
In 1986, when the sport was approaching its height, a commission was established by Basketball Ireland to find out about what should be done with the future of the sport. Its main conclusion was that it should go from 2 Americans per Division 1 team to only 1 American.
80% of the clubs decided to go from 2 Americans to 1 American, and they asked the National Executive Committee of the Association to endorse and support that, which they did. And it came into play in the 1988-1989 season, and there was a very negative reaction in Cork to it. They felt that they were being unjustly treated and almost being punished for being successful.
I remember some people thinking, well, if there's 2 Americans, it's hard for the Irish players to develop. Totally nonsense. It was totally the opposite. You get better by playing against better competition, even in practice.
They should have been looking at it in a different way, that, great, let's bring in as many as we can. And then people will say to you, well, what about the local guys? Well, you know what? The local guys could do what I was trying to do and get better, so they could play with these guys. And as a result, that would automatically bring the standard of the kids to the right level.
Well, I suppose if you're looking at it, if there's 10 on the court and 4 of them are Americans, you know, there's only 6 Irish players really getting a chance. I can see the argument for reducing to 1 American, but you know, I think it maybe backfired a wee bit, to be honest with you.
The argument was on 2 fronts. There was the player development argument. The second argument was the economic, financial one, which was that it was just costing too much to pay a second American. That was the argument, particularly from clubs, particularly outside of Cork, and the smaller clubs. And ultimately, they won the day.
A number of clubs said, no, we can't afford it. The reason they couldn't afford it is they weren't doing enough work to get sponsors. Sponsors were always out there in the early days. If you look back in history and it's there in black and white what happened, crowds just went away and that was the end of basketball.
That was crazy. It was suicide, really, to be honest. For the game itself, we lost it. We lost our edge compared to other sports, you know. We had a little diamond, right? And we didn't know what to do with it. You know, I think from the ground up, from the players all the way to the association, I don't think everybody knew what we had, like, you know.
It wasn't fun anymore. You know, it wasn't no razzmatazz anymore. It was just gone, you know?
I see it now as being a tragedy, personally, because the people that came over came with good intent, all the players that we brought over, I think, and loved the experience of playing in Ireland, and as obvious, some of them are still living there many, many years later. And the game itself should have progressed, but in fact, it's gone backward.
You look back on it now with very fond memories, but at the same time there's a tinge of disappointment in looking back, because you'd love to see the league and basketball being as popular as it was then. I don't know how it's going to be fixed, you know, it's a very difficult task to get players to want to play as much as we want to. There's so many distractions out there now. There's so many different high-profile games out there now.
I'll speak to some of the guys. I said, God, I'm glad that I got to play when basketball was at its best in Ireland, you know. I would love to see it picked up. I mean, I care a lot about the basketball in Ireland. But, you know, I would always say, yeah, but it ain't like what it used to be, you know. The game, you know, it's still called basketball, but if you weren't there in the 80s, then you don't know basketball.
Here's backstage.
Whether basketball in Ireland will ever return to the golden years of the 80s or not, one thing is certain, it will live on in my mind as a very special time, where us Americans, along with the Irish lads, lit up the parish halls and gyms all over this country and made sporting history.
Troy to give a side.